Alright, so far we've looked at a few HTML elements which we can use to mark up our text. We've organised into headings, paragraphs, lists, and we've got our menu. But if we wanted to organise our page outside those elements, we can use some of the HTML structural elements. They allow us to divide up the page so it's easy to see where one of our topics might begin and where another ends. So some of the most common structural elements are the header, the nav, which we've already used, an article element, a section element, a side, and a footer. So using these elements makes it easier for us to organize our code and also gives us more control over how the page appears. We can also use this kind of structure element to add responsive design later so that the content is automatically rearranged depending on what device it's using. For example, if we went to a mobile phone or a tablet which is smaller than our laptops, we can automatically rearrange these sections so that they fit much better on those devices. So I'm going to be looking at my CSS page that I've created today and apply some of these sections to here to help separate each section and make it look a lot more visually appealing. Okay, so this whole page is our article. It comes under About CSS. So up here in front of About CSS, I'm going to come in and type in a article tag. The What is CSS is our first section. So we'll come in here and we'll add a section. If we come down here before our next heading, Why use CSS, we need to end that section. So that should automatically complete for us. And we've now separated this particular part into its own little section. Let's go ahead and we'll add another section now for Why use CSS. We'll close that off at the bottom with a slash section again. It's automatically completed that. We'll do one more section for CSS solved a big problem. Close it off down here, the section. And finally create one last one down the bottom for CSS, saves a lot of work. And we'll close that one off down the bottom. So now we've finished adding the sections, we'll go ahead now and finish our article section off, and we'll end that one at the bottom of CSS has solved a big problem. So find the bottom of that here. So underneath the section tab, and we'll close that article off. For this last part, I'm going to put that into an aside element, and at the bottom of that we'll close the aside off. So now that we've set up our document with all our elements ready to go, we want to start adding some formatting and some styles to those. So over in our CSS file, we need to add some rules. So we create those rules by coming over here. We'll click on New Rule. We want to change a tag. In this case, I'll change a article tab. I'm in my CSS file, so leave that to this document only and click OK. So let's change the background color to start off with, and I'll choose something very different to what we currently have so it really stands out. If we go ahead and hit apply and close that window, you can see there I've changed the background to my article element, and it's only done everything that was in that article. So it hasn't done the background of my HTML code page, and it hasn't done this little aside section I did down here. And you'll notice here though, our text is very close to the edge of this box, so you want to add a little bit of a margin all the way around it so it looks a bit more pleasing to the eye. To do that, we need to add some padding. So let's make sure we've selected the article rule. There it is there. Edit rule. And we find our padding. Let's add 16 padding, see what that looks like. That doesn't look too bad for the left and right. However, we probably don't need that large space in the top, so I can take that off. Change our top to 0, and that looks a little bit nicer. We'll go ahead and click OK on that, and let's create a rule for our section. So that's a tag, choose section, click OK. Let's choose a different background color this time, click on that, and I've chosen this darker green here. Again, we'll go back to the padding in the box, and we'll add in some small padding of about 10. Probably don't need any up the top, so I can change that. And I'll remove the bottom padding as well, so it looks similar to the top. And you can see there it's actually separated all these boxes there to help show that there are in fact different sections. I'll also come over here to the margin and add a margin. I'll over exaggerate this for an example, and that'll separate the bottom of each one of these boxes. So you can see there now, added 100, it's quite large. We'll choose something a little bit more appealing, 24, that looks about right. So that'll make sure we always have a little margin in between all of those boxes. Go ahead and press OK on that. So let's take a look at what that looks like in the browser. So preview in Chrome, you can see now everything's laid out a little bit nicer. However, we've got these great little curves on our menu here, but we haven't reused them anywhere on our page. So I'm going to go ahead and add them. One little tip when we use CSS code, come down here, we'll add some more for that. If we want to, we can come along and add one rule to several sections all at once. Save that now. Take a look at that in Chrome. And you can see there, these two have updated. So we also need to add that to our article tag as well. So back here I can go and just simply type in article, save the document, preview in Chrome, and my article is updated with the rounded corners as well. That saves a little bit of time where I've only had to type in border radius 16px once there. However, you need to remember that's there because you don't want to duplicate and add a border radius up into another section. For example, here, if I add a border radius here, then I changed it in this section, it wouldn't update down here. So let's preview that again in Chrome. This time I'm going to shrink the window down and see what actually happens when I scroll in and out. So you can see that the page is automatically adjusting and it's keeping that border on the right hand side.